Sean, do you have the slides or do you want me to open them?
Oh, I've totally got the slides ready to go.
Ok, þá ætla ég að byrja þennan fund. Komið í sæl og verið velkomin á Kynningarfund Kennsluaakdemíunar. Ég heiti Alexandra og er verkefnastjóri og ég vil byrja á að segja ykkur að við tökum fundin upp en bara fram að umræðum og spurningum. Þannig að eftir það er hægt að spyrja spurninga bæði á íslensku og ensku en fundurinn fer fram á ensku. Ég ætla að byrja upptöku. Augnablik, ég ætla líka að setja.
Það stendur undir upptaka sig í gangi ef hún hafi byrjað bara þegar fundurinn opnaði.
Ok, þá skal ég slökkva á henni á eftir. Takk fyrir það, ég var að leita af þessu. En já, komið í sæl og verið velkomin. Ég heiti Alexandra og ég er verkefnastjóri Kennsluaakdemíunar, þannig að þið getið alltaf sendt mér póst á netfang Kennsluaakdemíunar ef þið hafið einhverjar spurningar. Sean Michael Scully, aðjúnkt við Háskólanna á Akureyri og meðlimur í Kennsluaakdemíunni, hann leiðir núna fundinn og hann er einnig umsjónarmaður yfir umsóknarnámskeiðinu sem akademían heldur árlega og allar upplýsingar þennan þetta umsóknarnámskeið mun Sean fara í og það er á heimasíðun okkar líka. Svo eru nokkri meðlimir hér viðstaddir líka til þess að svara spurningum á eftir. En bara svona rétt til þess að fara yfir að þá er markmið með Kennsluaakdemíunni að efla samtal kennslu og kennsluþróun og veittir viðurkenning þeim kennurum sem hafa lagt alúð við kennslu og komist fólk inn í Kennsluaakdemíuna að þá er það tekið inn með viðurkenningarskjali og fjárhagslegri umbun á hverju mánuði. En allt þetta skýrir sig og allar upplýsingar á heimasíðinu og ég ætla að gefa Sean orðið. Sean, over to you and we will switch into English.
Fantastic. So welcome everybody. So the point of today is to basically just give you guys a quick overview of sort of what's on the docket going into the new year in terms of applying to the Teaching Academy. So for those of you that haven't heard the spiel before, I just want to sort of hit some of the general highlights. So the Teaching Academy of the Higher Universities of the Teaching Academy of the Public Universities of Iceland, there we go, is basically created sort of around the Nordic Teaching Academy model, which is based on sort of the scholarship of teaching and learning principles. And the main purpose here is to sort of establish sort of a broader conversation about teaching within higher education. And also to reward teachers that are just awesome and excellent at doing the work of teaching. A lot of us probably feel have felt that, maybe teaching isn't as highly emphasized in the university as much as it should be given its importance. And the Academy is sort of one way of sort of starting to rectify that situation. So at present, the Teaching Academy is sort of a collaboration between the public universities within Iceland, so including HÁA, University of Holler, Hái, Agricultural University, and so forth. Oops, there we go. So one question I'm often asked is, why bother applying? So your mileage may vary. My reasons for applying are definitely going to be different than a lot of my colleagues that have made it into the Academy. But generally speaking, a lot of people apply to the Academy because they're interested in connecting with a group of like-minded educators that are interested in having conversations about teaching. And to sort of share, successes and failures and, struggles and triumphs in our practice of teaching. So one thing I've really sort of enjoyed over the past 4 or 5 years, what's amazing that it's been that long already, is the opportunity to learn from like-minded educators, sort of willing to go out and sort of experiment in their classrooms and sort of report back, what is actually working, what doesn't work, and, try to sort of work collaboratively towards, sort of building, education systems that actually work in higher ed. And to sort of, another sort of main function of the Academy is to sort of promote, the importance of excellence in education. Because again, it's something that kind of gets, left out. We often talk about, excellence in research, and there's a lot of promotion around research, which is fantastic. But, it's important not to forget about the teaching and training element as well. It's also worth noting that there's a financial incentive to apply to the Academy. So if this number is still correct, being a member of the Academy is worth 50,000 kroner per month for the duration of your teaching career. This is at present paid out annually, I believe in July. So, it's an extra, what is that, 300,000 a year? I have to do the math. No, it's a little bit more than that. So there's a financial, yeah, math is not my discipline area. Sorry about that. But yeah, and this will be sort of paid out over the duration of your teaching career. And there'll be sort of a cost of living increase that sort of gets factored in each year according to, whatever, the bean counters deem is sort of keeping up with the cost of living. So at present, the Teaching Academy consists of just about 50 members. We've been admitting somewhere between, around, 10 to 15 members per year, which is typically a 50% success rate on those that actually apply. The only requirement to apply to the Teaching Academy is that you are a permanent university educator that is employed at least 50%. So Adjunct 1, lector, docent, professor, more than eligible to apply. Yeah, so the application process for 2026, sorry, I forgot to change that. I'll fix that in the next round. Is this the right slide package? It is. I just forgot to change 2025 to 2026 everywhere. So this year we'll be asking people to register for the workshop and portfolio writing course, which is an optional part of the process that we've sort of added as a way of supporting people writing an application to the Teaching Academy. This course is sort of basically designed to sort of get you into the undertaking of writing a teaching portfolio, which is sort of the bulk of the application to the Teaching Academy. And we run this workshop course from January up through about May to sort of, help facilitate that process. So this year we'll be getting registrations for the workshop next spring. We'll try to open the registration for the workshop on December 1st, and you'll have until January 8th to declare your interest in participating in the workshop. There will be two major workshop sessions held in early to mid-January. The first workshop will be held on Tuesday, January 13th from 2 to 4 p.m. We won't kick anybody out at 4 p.m. Usually there will be a few of us that will stick around to answer any questions that you might have. And then we'll offer the workshop again on Thursday, January 22nd from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And again, we're not going to kick anybody out at 5. We'll be more than happy to stick around and answer questions. Now, these two workshops, A and B, are identical. You only need to participate in one of them to be able to participate in the rest of the portfolio writing course. During the February and March time period, we'll also host a number of sort of drop-in Q&A sessions where we'll have members from the Teaching Academy present to sort of help answer any questions you may or may not have. In the past, this has sort of proven to be sort of an interesting way of keeping people engaged in the writing process. It turns out writing a teaching portfolio can be sort of a very grindy and often laborious, isolating process. So it's nice to kind of go out and touch grass and interact with some other educators while you're sort of working on this process. And the way we'll sort of handle the remainder of the workshop writing course is we'll ask the participants to submit what we call a 75% complete draft of their teaching portfolio, which is basically a draft it's basically an advanced draft where basically it's, structured and you've got most of the content in place. And we'll ask you guys to sort of peer review one another's portfolios and provide feedback according to a rubric that we've kind of been developing over the past couple of years. Now, the really interesting part of this workshop course is once you've sort of participated in this peer review process, you can then submit what we call a 95% complete draft, which will offer some critical friend feedback from a current sitting member of the Teaching Academy. And they'll sort of provide some guidance based on, their experiences of actually going through and being successful in the portfolio writing process. And a lot of people have found that this sort of feedback from the so-called critical friend within the Teaching Academy to be incredibly helpful in terms of actually sort of crafting and getting a teaching portfolio and application submitted to the Teaching Academy. Now, this year, the application deadline for new applicants will be June 8th, presumably at midnight. And anybody's free to submit an application. You don't have to participate in the workshop to submit an application. Although we've found that most people that make it into the Academy have actually gone through the workshop writing course. There have maybe been a handful of people that couldn't participate and ended up submitting a successful application anyway. It happens. But I think a lot of people gone down that road have sort of looked back and said it would have been a lot easier if we'd actually just participated in the course. So generally speaking, the application consists of three major components. There's the teaching portfolio, which is sort of the bulk of the application. Typically, teaching portfolios are between 5,000 and 7,000 words, give or take. There's usually some supplemental information that doesn't sort of get counted into the word count. This is not sort of a strict requirement, but we do ask that the text within the portfolios be relatively limited, since someone actually has to go through and review several handfuls of these things. Applicants are also asked to submit a teaching curriculum vitae, which is basically a normal CV with a little bit more emphasis on your teaching work. Furthermore, there's also a request that we have a letter of support from the dean or head of school, like the department chair, along with your application, and we can provide a little bit of guidance about what should be included in that at a later date. Now, when your portfolio is sort of being reviewed by people that are currently in the teaching in the portfolio evaluation committee, there are four main criteria that the Teaching Academy looks at as a prerequisite for entry. First of all, we like it when people have a very student-centric view of teaching, and we'll talk a little bit more about exactly what that means during the workshop. Also, it's nice to see that the applicant has the requisite knowledge and skills to actually teach within their disciplinary area. Usually this one's a freebie. Most of us are qualified to teach what we're teaching, which is why we're teaching. Also, we like to see that applicants have a very clear plan for their development as an educator. So sometimes this takes the form of people wanting to do additional coursework in pedagogy, or participating in workshops, or finding some way to sort of take part in the broader conversations we have about teaching and learning. And finally, the final pillar of the Teaching Academy is we like to see that participants are active participants in actually having conversations about teaching. And this could take multiple forms. And one of the things that I think is particularly illuminating in the workshop is to sort of understand that a lot of what we're doing on the day-to-day basis actually sort of meets this criteria. It's just in a lot of cases, we're not really aware that that's what we're doing. So a lot of people are surprised to find out that they've actually been very active participants about teaching and learning. They just weren't aware that what they were doing, counted and sort of met that criteria. So once you submit an application, it's reviewed by three Scandinavian experts and one specialist from Iceland. The applications are basically sort of read through, and then if people think that the portfolio is interesting and has merit, you'll be invited for an interview. And based on the outcome of the interview, you'll either be invited to join the Teaching Academy or be asked to sort of reapply next year. So that's sort of the TLDR of the process. Now, this year, again, here's sort of a flow chart of how the writing workshop will work for spring 2026. We're going to ask that people submit their draft of their portfolios on Monday, March 30th. We've tried to make sure that all of our deliverable deadlines are on Monday this year. At that point, people will be given about 2 weeks to sort of participate in sort of a paired peer review process where they'll return comments to their partner. Then on Monday, May 4th, so after Easter this year, people will be asked to submit a 95% complete draft of their portfolio, and about 2 weeks later, they'll receive critical friend feedback from a current Teaching Academy member, and then they can decide whether or not they'd actually like to submit their application on June 8th. Most people do. Now, one thing that's worth mentioning is that in order to sort of have for lack of a better phrase, a right to take part in the 95% critical friend feedback part of the process, you need to attend the workshop and participate in the 75% peer review draft process. You can't just jump right to the 95% critical friend feedback, because in a lot of cases, what we've found is that a lot of the broad stroke corrections that need to be made can basically be sort of reserved in this, refined in the earlier part of the process. So some of the feedback from prior workshop participants. Most people have found that the workshop is incredibly useful in terms of actually going about writing a successful teaching portfolio. Some people have even called it vital, which I appreciate, because we put a lot of work into the workshop class. And one of the major piece of advice that's sort of come out as sort of a consistent lesson from prior applicants is start early. Writing a teaching portfolio is an incredibly time-intensive process. You need to do a lot of sort of preparation in terms of finding supporting evidence and, sort of trying to craft a compelling series of case studies within your portfolio. And that requires, a lot of time to sort of A, find the material, but B, also just kind of like roll it around and make it somewhat presentable. So you can find additional information on the Teaching Academy's website. There is a treasure trove of individuals that have shared their teaching portfolios. In some cases, people have shared drafts of their teaching portfolios with comments. People have, in some cases, shared the reviews that they'll get back from the expert review panel. And there's just a lot of information on the website. So if you're interested in taking part in the workshop, I would just ask that you send the Teaching Academy an email. Or I think we'll actually have a Microsoft Forms sign up this year, which will advertise ahead of the opening of the registration window on December 1st. So, that's all I've got for you guys. So does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
So I will stop the recording now as promised, and do feel free to ask questions if you have any.
My name is Helga. I just want to thank you for a very interesting presentation.
You're welcome.
And